so let's get started. My name is Dr. Tracy Gibbs. I'm the Chief Science Officer for LifeWise. I do these trainings every Tuesday, 7 p.m. Mountain Time. That's 9 p.m. Eastern Time. And tonight, our edition is going to be on emotions and your health, educating about that mind-body connection. Many of you probably are fairly familiar, or at least have the belief that emotions do affect your health. If you get overly stressed, it tends to lead to a weakened immune system. I think everybody gets that part, but they may not understand how deep the connection really is and what parts of the body can manifest different emotions. And we're going to get into that tonight. In fact, I think you'll be surprised by just some of the connections that there is science behind. A lot of these mind-body connections and the diagnostics behind them go all the way back to Eastern medicine. In China, around 400 AD, there was a famous Chinese practitioner, I don't know if they called them physicians back then, who that's all he studied for a good portion of his life, and then his work was further expanded upon. And if you look back at some of these Chinese texts regarding the liver and the gallbladder and the heart and like what emotions are connected to, you're going to be surprised. And we're actually going to cover some of that right now. I tell people all the time, and I've been saying it my entire career, that good health is a journey. It's not a destination. You just don't arrive at good health one day. And good health is more than just physical. It is emotional, it is spiritual, and it is physical. I talk 99% of the time about the physical health and well-being of you and what phytochemicals and what nutrients you can take to achieve that physical health. But I don't often talk about the spiritual aspects of good health, which are personal for everyone. So there's really no need to talk about that, I feel. But the emotional aspects I rarely talk about too. And that's what we're going to focus on tonight, because I believe, well, the science tells us, and I'll state some studies or cite some studies, that emotional health is actually more important than the physical nutrients you can put into your body when it comes to your physical well-being. And I'll cite that study for you. And I was shocked. I wasn't surprised though, because I love Viktor Frankl and his work, where he was interned in the concentration camp. And even in his book, he talked about how the Nazis could control every aspect of his life, what he ate, what he had, how he dressed, how he had to sleep, who he had to work with, all of that stuff. They could control all of the physical surroundings of him, but they couldn't control his mind. His freedom to choose how he reacted to each and every obstacle that was placed in front of him was something that the Nazis could not take away from him. And even in his book and in his research, he showed that those prisoners who chose to be positive in those circumstances, even though they were deprived from food and basic nourishment and shelter and things like that, still managed to thrive over those who chose to be negative. And so I knew that the emotion and health connection was strong from reading his work, but just how strong and how it related to specific organs in our body, it was fascinating as I was doing this research. So I want to ask some questions. Who here out there has suffered from back pain? Go ahead and give me a thumbs up. I'm going to be thumbs upping because I'm one of those back pain. Back pain, the major emotion attributed with back pain is anxiety, nervousness and anxiety. A stiff neck, irritability. When you are irritable a lot of the time, you could have chronic stiff neck. Chest pains. Chest pains are directly related, and heart conditions, by the way, with anger. I talk about anger management all the time. Digestive issues, stress. Dry mouth, this one I think we all know, fear. When you're afraid, when you're full of fear, the first symptom you get is that dry mouth. Weight loss and weight gain can both be attributed to insecurity, emotional insecurity. An upset stomach, jealousy. The list goes on, and we're not going to focus so much on those, but let's just start off by asking ourselves a question. What are emotions? What are they? They are real feelings that trigger chemical reactions in your body. You can't bury emotions. You can't hide emotions. They're there. No, well, you could probably hide them on your face, but inside your body, you know, I mean, that's one of the reasons why the lie detector test was invented. Because when you lie, certain emotions trigger certain responses in your body, and you breathe heavier, or your heart rate increases, or you get a nervous twitch, or things like that. And so even though you might be able to hide your emotions on your face or bury your emotions, they never go away, and they trigger chemical reactions in your body. You know, there's a great book published back in the 90s, and I remember reading it back in the 90s, probably 1998, 1999, by Carol Trueman. Feelings Buried Alive Never Die. Carol Trueman. And she's spelled with a K, by the way, in case you want to look that up on Amazon later. But Feelings Buried Alive Never Die is kind of talking about what I'm saying right now, that emotions are real. You can't change the emotion. Like if somebody does something that makes you angry, you're going to be angry, and it's real. And you can't deny that you feel angry. Now, we'll talk later how you choose to express that emotion and how you can adapt that emotion. Those are very important. But when you feel love for someone, you can't change that. When you feel anger towards someone, you can't change that. If you feel hurt because somebody said something that hurt you, those are real. And they produce responses, chemical and physical responses in your body. So let's go over what the 5 core emotions are. I wish I had it with me. I wish it was like a PowerPoint and I could pull up this cool chart, but there's it's called the Emotion Wheel. You can download it. I'm sure you can maybe even find the image of it online. I had to go to counseling for emotion. I know I'm getting raw and vulnerable here. And it's not funny. It was a real thing. I grew up in a family that we didn't express our emotions very well. You know, we'd say like, I love you and things like that, but it was never really shown. And yeah, occasionally as I got older, we would hug. But I think I just didn't grow up in a very emotional family. I grew up in a very logical family. And so when I married Michelle, who's a very emotionally mature person, I started going to counseling to learn more about emotions. And one of the first things I was handed was this emotion wheel so that I could learn to express the outward emotion I was feeling, and that would lead to the core emotion of where it was coming from. And I learned so much with that. And so I learned there's 5 core emotions, and we're going to go over those. Please write these down if you get a chance. If not, you know, you can, I don't know, watch this video later. It's going to be up on my Facebook page for the next month. But first, core emotion. And these are in no particular order, by the way, but joy. Joy is a core emotion. And the outward emotions that stem from joy are things like happiness, jubilance, anxiousness, excitedness, even aggressiveness stems from joy. Like you could be so excited about something, you know, you start pushing people around, or you're excited to, I don't know, buy tickets to a movie and you push someone in line, and it may come across as aggressiveness, but you're just super happy, super joyful, right? Second core emotion, fear. Fear is a real emotion. We've all felt it, but the outlying emotions that can stem from fear are things like jealousy. Like, why do you get jealous of somebody? Because you have a fear that maybe they're better than you. Anxiety. Anxiety is living in the future, the unknown. And so if you're worried about what somebody's thinking about you and it causes anxiety, that's fear-based. If you're worried about test you've got to take next week in school or something. That's future. That's next week. It causes anxiety, but it's fear. Fear of not being accepted. Hopelessness. Hopelessness stems from fear. Anger is a core emotion. We all feel it. There are times when we just get angry. You can't help not feeling anger. But what's the stems, the branches of anger that maybe we could control? Greed is a branch of anger. Impatience, loathing, controlling. When you control somebody, there's a little bit of fear and a little bit of anger mixed in with that. Lust. Believe it or not, the core emotion of lust is anger. That's you could go off on a whole hour talking about how that connection relates, but trust me, it is. Another core emotion, the fourth core emotion, grief. Sorrow, deep grief is a core emotion. When someone you love and have loved for years passes away, if somebody betrays you, things like that, that grief is an emotion that you can feel. And the stems or branches of that are sorrow, depression. Chronic grief can lead to depression. Selfishness causes grief because selfishness a lot of the times causes like loneliness, despair. Constant negative feelings will cause grief as well. And then the fifth core emotion that we all know and that we all love is love. Love is a core emotion. Some of the feelings that stem from love, especially for women, stability. When you feel stable, you're feeling love, a branch of love. Security, satiety. When you're satisfied, when things are going great in your life, it's the core root of satiety is love. Arousal, of course, we all know that one. A feeling of self-worth is a love of self, not the bad love of self, but the good love of self, not selfishness, but boundaries and respecting yourself is stemmed, or the core of that is love. So joy, fear, anger, grief, and love. Those are the 5 core emotions, and every single emotional word that you can think of finds its way back to one of those roots. Now, what are the major causes of emotion? Like, what do you feel the strongest emotions for? And I will say, by the way, the things that cause you the greatest joy and the greatest sorrow are usually the things, the people, and the things that you're closest to. And those things that cause the greatest emotion are typically family, number 1, work, number 2. And it's usually in that order. I think most people get the most emotional satisfaction from their family or emotional anger or fear. All of those core emotions can be felt with family and work. Commitments, sometimes over-promising and things like that can cause, that's a great cause of anxiety and fear and depression and anger and all these other emotions. And then another huge core emotion inputter would be service. I think service, because sometimes when you serve somebody, you feel good, but if you expect appreciation in return, you can immediately feel like put off. But it stirs up a whole bunch of emotion because you love to serve and you serve the people that you love. But then sometimes those people that you love and that you serve can cause harm because you love them. So friends, family, work, commitment, service, things like that. These are the major emotional sources that we have to deal with every day. But there's a couple of things that you need to remember. And I already said one. The things that cause you the most anger are typically the things that cause you the most joy. I have a daughter and she's great. She's 9 years old. And for a long time, she was like worshiped me. I was like, yeah, she was definitely a dad's daughter, you know. But now that she's getting 9, boy, she hurts me sometimes. I love her to death, but it hurts so deep sometimes when she calls me cringe, or when she doesn't want to introduce me to her friends, or she doesn't want me to take me to school because she thinks my truck is ugly, and I have an awesome truck, I think. But in her mind, it's ugly. So again, the things that are closest to you, your work and friends, family, typically cause the most emotion. But I need you guys to remember, especially when it comes to people and your emotions towards people, you can't choose the emotion that you feel, but you can choose how you react to that emotion. It took me a long time to learn that. It took me a long time to learn that when I was hurt, I didn't have to hurt back. I could choose to process that hurt, and I could even say things like, ouch, that hurt. Did you mean to say that? I would ask a clarifying question. Or did you mean to do that? What was your intention in saying that to me? And it helped me have time to process that hurt. And yeah, sure enough, if the person would answer back, she's like, yeah, I meant every bit of that I said to you. And I'm like, oh, that really hurt. I really want to hurt back. I want to say something back, but that 5 seconds of processing the emotion would help me sometimes, because my go-to is like yelling. I would yell back. I'd yell, and I'd say something hurtful back. But I've learned that you can't choose the emotion that you feel because it's real, but you can choose how to respond to that. And knowing that made all the difference. Made all the difference in my marriage, made all the difference in my work. I was always overreacting in my work. Overreacting. Somebody did something wrong. Some customer canceled their purchase order and wanted their money back. Somebody said my product sucked, or whatever. I would get hurt. I would get angry. I'd get upset. I'd have a fear that, I worked so hard to get this customer and now I've lost them. Again, all of these emotions would come back in my work. All of them would come up in my family life. And I reacted instead of acted. I want you guys to write that down. Act instead of react. Act is a matter of choice, where you think about what you're going to do and then you act on it. Reaction is automatic. You're out of control. You're a spaz. You can't control what you're doing. That's bad. That's a sign of emotional immaturity. I'm going to get to these research findings now. In Science News, March 4th, 2009, the University of Kansas Global Study on Emotions and Health. They took thousands of cases and did this meta-analysis of people with positive emotions versus negative emotions, again, stemming out on all those branches back to those core 5 emotions. And they found positive emotions unmistakably are linked to better health, better blood pressure, lower cholesterol levels, better weight management, across the board, better health, even when taking into account a lack of basic needs. They would deprive people from food and from shelter and from warmth. And yet, those who chose to have a positive attitude were overall more healthy. And negative emotions were a reliable predictor of worse health. Most strikingly, the study says, the association between emotion and physical health was more powerful than the connection between health and basic human physical needs. Even without shelter, food, etc., positive emotions were shown to boost health. That's crazy, isn't it? Now, throughout my career, literally since I was 24 years old and I started doing the blood analysis for people and showing them what their red blood cells look like on the screen and everything, people would come and consult with me regarding their health. Every once in a while, you come across someone who, and you guys know these people, because here's what it's like. When you ask them, hey, how are you today? what's the first thing out of your mouth? Oh man, I have a sore neck. I've got this chronic heart condition and this and that and that. And they don't say, like most people say, hey, I'm fine. Sometimes that's a way of hiding your emotions too. When people ask you, how are you doing? Most people probably don't mean, how are you doing? They probably just mean to say hello, but they say, how are you doing? And maybe they don't want a response back. But if you give them a response back and you say, I'm doing great, I'm doing better than ever. What's Dave Ramsey say? I'm doing better than I deserve, or something like that, right? I don't know if that's positive, because you deserve the best. Everybody does. As a child of God, we all deserve the best. But to say something back like, hey, I'm having a great day, that's a positive comment. And positive energy around that comment can lead to good health. But if you're one of those people that says all the time, oh, I've got this ache, I got this pain, I got this, I got that. During my consulting practices in the years and the literally thousands of people I've consulted with, some people make health their conversation. Some people make negative health their conversation. In fact, negative health or bad health is how they get attention. They're so love-starved that they want to go on about all their negative health problems, and it's negative after negative after negative after negative. I don't care what supplement you give that person or what treatment you give that person, it won't work for them. Maybe you've experienced it. I have during even my years here at LifeWise. You give somebody Restore because you know it's going to take away that pain. And they take it for 5 days and they're like, I took this and I've had this sciatic pain for 20 years and it just won't go away. And I knew this wouldn't work when you sold it to me, but I figured what the heck, I'd buy it anyway. And guess what? It didn't work. Well, sciatic is inflammation. We know Restore works for that. If it didn't work for that person, it's because their negative belief about themselves have overcome the benefits of that nutritional supplement you gave them. And that's a fact. The studies show it. The association between emotional and physical health was more powerful than the connection between health and basic human physical needs. In other words, better than supplementation. Your positive mental health can make you healthier better than my products can. And that's scientific fact. So, when somebody asks you how you are, respond positively. Why? I'm talking only to my American and Canadian and Australian and first world country friends now. You have great lives. If you make more than $50,000 a year in income, you're in the upper 1% of the world population in income. If you have a 2,000 square foot home or larger, you're in the upper 1% of large homes in the world. Your life is great if you live in a first world country. And so when somebody asks you how you're doing, you should say, my life is great. So let's go over those 5 core emotions again, and I'm going to tell you what each of those core emotions is connected to regarding your physical health. I have just a few more minutes here, and then I'm going to give you something for Christmas, okay? All right. Joy is one of those core emotions, right? When you have joy and you bring joy into your life, you increase your muscle tone. You have more endurance, and your hormones are more balanced when you have joy. That's a fact. When you have fear and you bring fear into your life and you're living in the future, you're living in fear, you're going to have digestive disorders. You're going to have body aches. Your vision will get poor and you'll have autoimmune disorders. When you let anger control your life, again, I'm not saying you can eliminate these emotions. You're going to feel fear occasionally. You're going to feel anger occasionally, but how you respond to that and how you dwell on it, that's what's going to lead to these health issues. If you allow anger to control your life, not feel anger, it's going to happen. But if you allow it to linger, heart disease, low immunity, rapid aging, chronic headaches, that's what anger causes. I know because I experienced it. Grief. If you let depression and sorrow dominate your life, that's living in the past, by the way. Fear is living in the future. Grief is living in the past. You will develop cancer, poor circulation, mental and emotional disorders, and low immunity. Do not live in the past. You cannot change it. In fact, be joyful for the past. Your hard experiences are what made you you. I'm so grateful for my stupid and crazy days in my 20s because they gave me wisdom to guide those dumb 20-year-olds today. And I can show them what they should and shouldn't be doing because I was one of those stupid 20-year-olds. You know, the mistakes and dumb decisions you made in the past are what made you wise today. So find joy in the past. Don't look back and regret everything that happened in the past. You can't fix it. It's done. Love. If you fill your life with love, you will have improved immune function, longevity, longer life. People who love live longer. And you'll have lower blood pressure. There's a whole slew of others I'll go with, but I'm going to run out of time. So here's my Christmas gift to you. I'm going to give you an elf. Only it's plural, so it's elves. E-L-V-E-S-S. Okay? This is an acronym. Everybody put E-L-V-E-S-S. Elves with a longer S, all right? I hope you'll remember 5 ways to help control your emotions. Actually 6 because E-L-V-E-S-S is 6 letters. Here we go. E stands for express feelings in a healthy way. When somebody ticks you off and they make you angry, you can feel that and you can say, oh man, that made me angry. But instead of expressing that in yelling and punching and hitting and fighting and throwing a tantrum, you could say, dang, that made me mad. Did you really mean to do that? Tell me why you meant to do that so I can understand why you made me feel so hurt. You know, you can say things like that. Again, if you have to pause because you're feeling angry, you have to act, not react. Acting is stop, count to 5. I'm so pissed off, I could punch you right now. And I want to, but I'm not going to react, but I want to understand. Help me understand, okay? That could be a healthy way of expressing that anger. Or if you really want to punch that person and you know it's going to happen, turn around and go for a jog. You know, go lift some weights, go pump some iron, do something. Or you can say, if it's your spouse, time out, I gotta walk. I'll be back, but I gotta go. I gotta go right now because I'm really mad, okay? That could be another healthy way of expressing the anger, all right? L, live a balanced life. You can be so much more emotionally healthy if you controlled your screen time. If you got, I call it the 888 rule. Get 8 hours of sleep at night. Sleep's so important. Work for 8 hours a day and do family or hobby time or things like that for 8 hours a day. There's 24 hours in a day. You can break it up 3 ways. Whatever you need to do to find balance in your life, but try to live a balanced life. Do not overdo one or the other. If you work too hard, you're going to have trouble managing your emotional health. If you are too lazy and don't work enough, you're going to have trouble managing your emotional health. If you spend too much time on the screen, you're going to have trouble managing your emotional health. Okay, the V in L's. Vitality, and you can get vitality through nature, like be outside, ground, root yourself, or physical activity. exercise, hit the gym, go for a hike. Going for a hike solves 2 of those. You get your nature and your physical all in one. I think that's probably why I love hiking and camping so much, because it helps me be vital. Vital stems from the Greek word meaning life. It means live life. Don't sit there and grow roots in your couch, on your screen, or watching too much TV or anything like that. Don't focus on the news too much. The news is all negative. Man, kick them when they're down. Do you ever see any positive news? No, in fact, it's gotten so normal. The newscaster with the smile on her face is like, 18 people were murdered today on the beach. I mean, crazy how they report negative news with a smile on their face. Don't watch the news. It's negative. The next E, entertain yourself. To me, that's like, it's 2 things. It's like setting boundaries, meaning, you know what, I'm going to do some me time. I'm going to take care of me. I did the other day. I bought myself a Christmas present. I know my family's going to get me a Christmas present, but I can't always choose that. This one I was able to choose. So I did some me time. I entertained myself. The 5th number, the first S in elves, service. I can't tell you enough how much serving others will help you forget the past, will help you realize that your problems are nothing compared to other people's problems. So you won't be able to dwell on the past when you're actively serving others. You won't be able to worry about the future when you're actively serving others. And then the last S, supplementation. The physical side of me couldn't resist that. Everybody knows that I talk about good health, and everybody knows that you just can't get all the nutrients you need out of our food only. But there are some supplements that can help you regulate your unbalance until you get your life in order, until you express your feelings the right way, until you live a balanced life and all of that stuff. You can supplement. At LifeWise, we have 2 amazing supplements that help with emotional stability. There are adaptogenic herbs in Perk that help, like oxytocin levels and dopamine levels, and they help provide hormonal balance. Because again, we know that like anger management and everything can cause your hormones to be out of whack. And if your hormones are out of whack because you can't immediately fix the anger issues and all that stuff and the jealousy and the hate, at least you can take a supplement that'll help a little bit. And maybe on that supplement, you'll be able to start acting instead of reacting to change your life. And it's named Perk for a reason. It's Perk You Up. Lift is named Lift for a reason because it also lifts you up. This also has adaptogenic herbs, and those in particular boost your dopamine levels and serotonin levels to help you feel happy. I'm not going to say it helps you feel joy, because I think true joy is a lot more than just your dopamine levels. But dopamine is considered the happy hormone. Happy is temporary, joy is lasting. And if you can take something that will give you a little happy feeling, maybe you can then correct the things in your life that make your happiness temporary to where you can convert it to joy, which is much longer lasting. So, express your feelings, live a balanced life, be vital, live life, entertain yourself, meaning having boundaries and loving on yourself, service to others, which is selflessness, okay? And then supplementation. These are the elves that I'm giving you for Christmas, so hopefully you can write those down. Please share this video with your friends and family, because I think especially during the holidays when you're with family, all of those emotions are going to come out. And so if you can remember to act instead of react, take your supplements, be vital, get some activity, don't get too much screen time, all the things I've talked about, you're going to have a very wonderful and a very Merry Christmas, and I wish that to you all. I'm trying to think if there's any announcements. I don't think so, but take my elves, and hope you have a happy holidays. Join me here next week, 7 p.m. in the lab with Dr. Tracy Gibbs. Give this a like and share it with your friends. Have a great evening. Good night.